The traditional college campus is idealized as a protective haven, a place where students make lifelong bonds and mature into young adults. But some say that ideal belies a much darker reality, that too many colleges and universities are failing to take sexual assault allegations seriously.
Why don't you expel rapists, Tufts?
About 100 students protested today at Tufts University, accusing the school of not doing enough to combat sexual assaults on campus.
Get your shit together!
The protests follow an announcement earlier this week by the U.S. Department of Education that Tufts fails to properly handle complaints of sexual assault. Tufts admits problems in the past, but strenuously denies that's the case today. Still, the White House says it's holding schools accountable.
1 in 5 of every one of those young women who's dropped off for that first day of school, before they finish school, will be assaulted.
And today, the Department of Education said another 55 schools are under investigation for inadequate sexual assault policies. 6 Massachusetts schools are on the list: UMass Amherst and Emerson College, Boston University and Emerson College, and Harvard College and Law School. My first guest filed a federal complaint against Emerson College, claiming the school's response to reports of sexual assault violates the gender equality law known as Title IX. Sarah Tedesco is a sophomore now. She says school officials took months to investigate after she reported being raped and urged her not to make a big deal out of it. So, Sarah, this was the fall last year, freshman year. You and some friends left Emerson College, went to the MIT campus. What happened?
At MIT, I was assaulted by a Emerson student who I had previously known, and an MIT student who I did not know.
Mm-hmm. And you realized when you woke up that you didn't feel right. You had been drinking, admittedly, but it went beyond that. You realized you had actually been given the date rape drug.
Yeah, I thought so. I definitely felt different. I definitely felt off. I didn't feel like I normally felt. I wasn't a big drinker in the past, but I definitely had drank more that night, and I very much knew something was wrong.
So who did you report it to first?
I first reported it to the school. They then had me report it to the Boston police and then the Cambridge police, since it occurred in Cambridge. However, after I reported it, the school sort of just dropped off their investigation, even though an Emerson student was involved, and really didn't take any steps that they're supposed to under Title IX.
Well, they told you that the rape kit didn't come back positive because possibly the guy had used a condom. So just for that reason alone, they say they couldn't prove it?
I mean, they didn't even tell me what Title IX was. They didn't even tell me that I had any rights. And because I wasn't very active in this whole Title IX movement that's become really active on college campuses all over the country, I didn't know what it was. I was only a couple months into my freshman year, so I wasn't aware I had any rights, and I wasn't aware that they were even supposed to take any steps. So it wasn't until I learned from students like Alexander Brodsky at Yale and Mia Ferguson at Swarthmore that I did have rights, and that's when I started fighting for them.
Well, Wendy, you've been hot on this issue, as I well know, for many, many years. I mean, a lot of people associate Title IX with the rights to federally funded sports for girls' teams, but it certainly goes far beyond that. Now, has your issue been that colleges and universities don't investigate, or like in Sarah's case, they just don't get involved in it at all?
Well, a lot of the cases are those things, but there's more to it. So some of it is schools don't investigate at all. Some is that they do a terrible investigation. Some is that they investigate and then they have hearings at which they treat the victims abysmally and for no good reason rule against her. And sometimes it's just their policy handbooks are boondoggles of nonsense that are so confusing and obfuscate the issues, instead of saying, you have a right to equality in education and protection from discrimination, just like students based on race, religious beliefs, ethnicity, national origin, gay, whatever. Women stand on equal footing with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, under Title IV, under Title IX. These are civil rights laws that, for the most part, because of misframing and propagandizing of Title IX as a sports equity rule, was not well understood in this country for decades. I mean, it's been over 40 years, and we still have university presidents who are just now saying, oh, Title IX has something to do with sexual assault. Who knew? So it's been a problem of education, but I think more schools have known and intentionally were turning a blind eye and doing these obfuscation things on campus on purpose. Because if you don't know your rights and you arrive as a freshman and you're sexually assaulted and you go look up what do I do, and you're not looking in the civil rights section, how would you know? And that's been a big problem.
Now, did it make a difference to them that the assault took place off campus? Did they discuss that with you?
I don't think it was discussed with me, but definitely. I think that I have spoken to other survivors who have come forward who are also part of the Emerson complaint. And if it was on campus, they do a lot more damage control, worry about, this happened in an Emerson dorm. The investigation from the police will be at Emerson. However, I think that even though it happened off campus, there was an Emerson student involved, and it was 2 Emerson students. So it was definitely something that they should have investigated further, and they did later down the line, but it was, I would call, a sham of an investigation.
Schools are clearly more interested in scandal avoidance and money. Right? So one of the things they love to do is say to the victim, oh, why don't you go get some counseling and put it behind you? And even if they go forward with a complaint, they'll say, well, we do believe you, but we don't believe you enough to throw him out. And what that gets the school, well, that's what happens all the time. And that's when schools get to say to both sets of parents, keep paying, we like the cash. And of course, then they get no negative press attention.
Well, Sarah, you did have that experience because not only the police, but school administrators questioned your story because it changed slightly. I mean, you had been drinking, you think you had been drugged. I mean, not every detail was identical, and they said, oh, your story is inconsistent. Yeah,
I mean, it's shown by anybody who's done any sort of research into sexual assault victims or psychological issues that come with it, with PTSD and things like that. I mean, I was hospitalized several times because my PTSD was just so bad, and I didn't understand what was even happening to me. But my story changed in very, very, very small ways, but because of these small little inconsistencies, it was like, oh, you're not telling the truth.
Wow.
Even if the guy refuses to say anything at all. It's not a he said, she said, it's a she said he took the 5th and she still loses. It's crazy. I want to say a few things that I think parents will find disturbing. Elite schools and the D1 athletic schools really are the worst because,
I saw that from
shockingly, they have the most entitled men. And parents don't understand that. They think if you spend your lifetime with your child preparing them to go to an Ivy League school, aren't you lucky they're going to the best school in the world? Sometimes it's the best school, but not when it comes to violence against women, because those schools have more to lose when the truth comes out. Drugs are very common, and they're very convenient if you're a predator, and most offenders are repeat offenders on campus, and they are predatory, and they make these rape drugs in their campus apartments because you can just buy the stuff at Home Depot, and a young girl who has no idea what it feels like to be drugged doesn't even know. She just thinks she had too much to drink. Schools love to say, too bad you don't have a good memory for events. How can we possibly throw him out? And then the shocking thing I think parents really need to know is that I heard Joe Biden say 1 in 5. Other data suggests it's 1 in 4. I think the number is even much higher than that. It is by far the most prevalent form of civil rights violence against any kind of student on campus. All the other protected class categories combined, this is the most prevalent form of violence, and schools don't call it a civil rights harm. And the numbers are as shocking as this. About 1 million girls, when they get to college during that 4-year period, 1 million will be sexually assaulted. Well, think about that. It's huge.
Sure. You stuck it out, though. You wanted to stay at Emerson. Did you think about leaving?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I applied to other schools at the end of my freshman year, and very, very, very much thought I was going to go to school in Florida. But, then I really thought about it, and I met through filing this complaint and through talking to other survivors on campus and organizing and starting Emerson Stopping Sexual Assault, which is like a grassroots movement on campus. I met other survivors, and we kind of decided we're going to stick it out. This is our school. This is where we go to school, and just because something so terrible happened to me doesn't mean I'm going to make it.
Well, good for you.
Ruining my life.
Coming forward, too. It's brave of you to tell a story. Sarah Tedesco, great, and Wendy Murphy, as always. Thank you.